Okay folks, the assignment. You'll find it in the assessment folder as is normal, and it'll come up on here in a minute or two when it's working up. There are two critical points at the very top, which are the hand-in dates. As is now becoming usual with my modules, you will hand it in twice. The first as a final draft on the weekend or Friday 28th of November, and there will be a Turnitin submission point for final draft where you will deposit it. And then I will issue a timetable for you to come and see me with a copy of that assignment or that draft on a memory stick, and I'll give you some time in my office, about somewhere around 12 minutes each, and I will mark your final draft according to the criteria that are published, and I'll take you through in a few minutes. You will then have 4 weeks to improve that assignment, taking account of all of that feedback, and you will then submit the final version on the evening of Friday the 3rd of January. And then I will mark it in my office the following week, and I will issue another little schedule when you will come to me with your assignment, and I will give you the final marks at that point, fully marked up both times, fully marked up inside Turnitin with all the comments and so on, and then you will get the final mark immediately. There'll be no delays. You will walk away from that session with me in my office somewhere around the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th of January, and you will know the at least pre-moderated mark for your assignment, which makes life is much easier for you, because you know you've got the mark and you can be confident at the end of that time that you have passed and that you've got a reasonably good grade. I discovered last year that the benefits of this final draft review, followed by improve it and resubmit, is worth on average something between 15 and 18%, which is very close to 2 full grades improvement. So 2 submission dates, and you're reminded that yes, you will be here that week of the exam week, which is the 6th onwards. And the overall theme of the assignment is about, like the project that I'm supervising, is the reliability or unreliability of assisted GPS location services in smart devices. Yeah, there it is. And I take you back to what John Easton said in 2012, 80% of all big data and data from the Internet of Things, and of course your smart devices are part of the Internet of Things that reports itself back and generates data and so on. And 80% of all of that data is of questionable veracity or truth. He's not saying it's wrong, all of it, but he's saying the biggest problem we have is we do not know which bits of that data are wrong and which bits of data are correct. And location services are very clearly an area which is a bit difficult, whether it's from our smartphones, our tablets, our smart cameras, or even the databases around the world of the location of all of the switches and IP addresses. Some of those are suspect. And it's not obvious initially which ones are and which ones aren't. Now, what we're not trying to do in this assignment is to identify the technical causes of this questionable veracity. What we are looking for as a BSc IT is what is the impact of having questionable data, data we cannot completely trust. And we know many businesses, many researchers, all sorts of people are trying to use this big data, this Internet of Things, and location services to help to improve the effectiveness of their businesses in one way or another. Now, what we do not have yet, and this is part of the dissertation projects that I'm supervising on location services, is to find out, what proportion of data is inaccurate and by how much. Is it 20% of all location data services is wrong? Or is it more or less? And does it matter? Is it big enough error to really make a difference? Or is it so small an error that it really doesn't actually affect very much? So what do we need to do in business? From corporate and information governance, the question is, we know this is potentially inaccurate. Does it matter to our business? Which stakeholders are affected? Go back to some of those questions you were looking at last week and this week. How much does it matter? Are there things we can do to actually avoid a problem? And so what I'm wanting you to develop from this assignment is to develop a governance strategy that helps businesses and research organizations in terms of saying, this is what you need to be thinking about, this is what you need to do so that you can get value from all of this data. So you can identify those things which aren't terribly accurate and decide how you will change it or remove it or not use it, and still be able to use the rest of the stuff which you can be relatively confident about to actually get business value. Now, if we connect that back to the thing I introduced to you last year, the SFIA framework, SFIA, which is eSkills UK, it's also part of, created by the BCS. It's a framework that says these are the skills you need in different topic areas, and these are the levels of skills from you need to be supervised all the time, right through to level 7, which is where you're setting strategy. Now, if you do a good job with this assignment, you are going to be able to show your future employers, when you fill in your skills-based application for your job, here is evidence that I have got to level 5 or level 6 or level 7 in part of the area, that you are developing and creating strategy, which is level 6, level 7. And if you've got to that level, which will be above 70%, and you've got your article that you're going to create here published on our website, you can actually point them to it and say, here is the evidence, guys, that I created a really great strategy which is relevant in location services. So it's very, very closely related to being able to prove to future employers that you are capable of evaluating a situation and creating a suitable and relevant strategy. Now, in terms of layout and size, 3 major chunks I'm looking for. How well you introduce the topic area, your particular focus. What are the key factors of the chosen aspect of location service? It could be, smartphones that are saying, I'm here, and actually you're not there. So, in order to set the context, you will need to introduce the key factors of your chosen aspect of location service, and at the same time, you need to identify what aspect of business it will affect and the potential impact of this problem area. The second part of the assignment is to evaluate and identify what those governance issues are that are particularly important in this context. Risks, ethics, compliance, the standard sort of things. And in terms of integrating this technology into your business environment. And then the third section is the governance strategy proposal. This is the context and why it's important. These are the things that are really important about trying to get value out of this particular aspect of location services. And then this part is saying, well, if that's the context and that's the sort of key issues, here is your outline strategy to a business that says, if you want to use this, then you need to do this, this, and this. Now, what you're going to produce for me is in a new template, a much easier template to use than you used last year, which was the IEEE template. You're using the Springer LNCS one, and I will be publishing a version of it on the on Blackboard in the next few days. It's a single column, and it actually does work quite nicely. It has a set of add-ins as an add-ins button on the menu to the right-hand edge, and it will give you the sort of buttons that do things like heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, and all the other things that are important. Excluding the front sheet, the bibliography, and the self-assessment grid, I want 6 pages. 6 pages are +0 minus about 2 lines. So you're really targeting exactly 6 pages for the content. From the beginning of the abstract to the end of the conclusion. In the front of that there will be your name and so on, a table of contents, and at the back as many pages for your references as you need. It might be 1, it might be 2 pages, who knows, it might be 3 pages, I really don't mind. As many references as you need to fully support and justify everything you write about in those 6 pages of content. And then at the back there'll be roughly two more pages, which are the assessment grid, which I'll be identifying for you. Now, 20% of your overall grade comes from perfect adherence to the standards of presentation. That includes using the LNCS template exactly right, 6 pages +0 minus 2 lines, citing and referencing consistently and perfectly to Harvard standards, good quality, formatting, syntax, spelling, grammar, and so on. All of which relate to the amount of extra work the editor and proofreader is going to have if you don't meet all of those criteria. In addition, these presentation issues reflect very, very clearly what you will come across out there in the big wide world in a year's time. Because most employers will tend to use different templates for your reports. They will be different from company to company. They will be different from particular type of report to particular type of report. So meeting the criteria, presentational standards, is absolutely fundamental for your future employability. Really, really critical. As an example, if I exceed my X pages for a conference I've sort of put in for down in London that Peggy and Ashik and others are organising this year, if I exceeded the 6-page limit or allowance by even 1 line, I'm requested to pay $50 per page, just for 1 line. And we have to have perfect adherence to some fairly interestingly different presentational standards, formatting standards. The bibliography formatting are different from anything I've ever used before. And we just have to deal with it, guys. So this 20% is very, very real from a perspective of employability. And then the rest of your grades come from the content and the argument and so on. Just a couple of items. If you were to look at the documentation about the LNCS formatting, it will tell you to use numeric. We actually want you to change from numeric citing and referencing to Harvard, because it's more, we think it's more reader friendly. Yeah, I've talked to you about the final draft review. There will be shortly a Turnitin submission point where you can keep submitting it just to check on, that you're not falling into those plagiarism problems of copying without noticing it. Final submission, midnight 3rd of January, and then somewhere out between the 5th and the 9th or thereabouts of January will be when it will be marked in front of you. And we'll have a discussion about marking at both of those. So both there for the final draft review and here we'll be having a discussion. It won't just be, this is it guys and go away. There will be a discussion, so you will learn from it as well, because this is going to feed into next semester in either enterprise systems or information security and assurance, where I shall be using exactly the same approach. Now, at the end of all of this, those which score or marked at 70% or above will then be collated together into a single e-book, and somebody hopefully here is going to volunteer to just bolt them all together. Choose a nice front page, do a little introduction and to set the context, and of course those who get published in this e-book will be able to claim publications in their CV, and whoever does the editing will get editorial entry in their CV as well. So all very good grist to your mill for getting good jobs, because you will stand out because you've got publications, you've also got some of your editorial activity. So all of this lot kind of makes you more and more employable. You will note a little comment here. This is going into many of our assignments this year. Failure to provide any citations or references will have their marks capped to 35%, because it's not an academic piece of work without that. Now, I will catch that, of course, at your final draft review. In fact, I'll catch it long before that, because I'll be working and looking at your stuff over the next 7 8 weeks here in the workshops. So you'll be starting writing very, very shortly. You'll be building your bibliography, and I will see and comment to you about the structure, the formatting, and you know, if I don't see citations turning up quickly, then I should start kicking, shouting, getting cross. So that's not actually going to apply to you, because I'm not going to get there. Now, the weighting of the different elements is 20% for this perfect formatting, 20% for that introduction of the context, the benefits, and the sort of overall impact like statement and so on. 30% for the governance issues, and 30% for governance strategy proposal. And you will see that there are a whole series of boxes down here for the 95, 85, 75, 65, 55, 45, 37, and oh dear, catastrophically oh dear bands. Now, these show you how I shall be marking it, and how you will assess your work as you develop it. So you can actually use this day by day or week by week to say, oh, have I got as far as here, or am I still down to 55, 65? Have I got the critical analysis right? Now, you can use it in a different direction as well. You can reverse engineer from here. As you each think about this topic within location services and errors and impact on businesses, you can actually start thinking about, okay, what is it in here that I can use to help me select a topic? So that some topics are going to be so far down, you know, that you haven't got much opportunity to do sort of more than, let's say, critically evaluate and justify the benefit of the technology to the businesses. Or even worse, down 45, justifies the chosen technology and the impact and benefits. Because there's not a lot available. So you use these 3 columns and the rows, or the cells upwards, to help you decide on a really good topic which gives you the maximum opportunity of meeting these sorts of levels. Choose topics which in principle help you or allow you to get to 95%. Thinking about novelty, wide ranges of perspectives, professional level of knowledge and understanding, clarity in logical structures, Impact and incorporation of technology. All of these things are the things that you can use to say, well, this is a simple topic area, or this is a really interesting topic area which is going to have a big impact. And the same then goes into this final column, which is developing from the context, the critical issues, to, and this is what you need to do about it as a governance strategy. Okay. So that's what the assignment is all about. I'll give you the document within the next week or two. You won't need it for a week or two because you aren't going to be writing it yet. You're going to be researching it, you're going to be thinking about the context, you're going to be planning the whole approach, developing the structure and the sequence of your analysis, and basically building the framework. You don't need to do that in your document yet. You don't need to start writing any of your article yet. You can do that in 3 or 4 weeks' time. Once you've got all of your ideas sorted out, you've done all that research that shows why this particular part of GPS location, of GPS assisted location services, is critically important, and so on. And then when you've got that structure, you can really start power typing. But as we go through the semester, you will be picking up new topic areas, new frameworks, new sets of questions week by week. So you won't have got the full basis unless you read ahead week by to week 10 or 11 in the lecture series. You won't have the full basis for the full analysis of this whole thing. So it will be, you'll be building it gently week by week, and so come week 11 you should have a pretty good structure. You may not have finished everything, and then you've got that 4 weeks until after Christmas.